Today, I want to show you a simple upgrade you should consider for YouTube Studio, especially if you're filming in a small room or tight on space. This is the iFootage RB-A400 round base monopod, and it replaces bulky light stands or tripods while taking up way less space. If you want a cleaner, more flexible studio setup, this might be exactly what you need. But before we start, I do want to mention that this video is sponsored by iFootage. With that said, let's start with the price. This round-base monopod / light stand is definitely not cheap at $120, and compared to a simple light stand, there is a big difference in price, but I honestly think it's well worth the money if you want something with great build quality, that's quick to deploy, and takes up minimal amount of space in your studio setup. In the box, you'll find a dual-sided light mounting screw, a heavy-duty 40cm round base with a 3/8" thread, and a detachable monopod extension tube with a side hook for holding power adapters, a female 3/8" thread at the bottom, and a male 3/8" thread on top. This basically means this monopod is extremely versatile because you can use it with a light and a large modifier, or even a camera rig, or pretty much any other accessory out there. Moving on, the main selling point of this monopod is definitely its unique round base design. It takes up far less space than a traditional 3-leg light stand, keeps your studio cleaner, and reduces the risk of bumping into it or tipping your gear over. If you are like me and constantly bump into light stands in your studio, this monopod is definitely going to make your life much easier. I'm actually thinking about replacing all of my light stands with this monopod just to keep the setup as neat and clean as possible, if you will. Alright, next, in terms of build quality, the entire setup, including the round base, is made of metal and feels super solid and premium. The only slightly annoying thing is the rubber piece covering the round base, which can sometimes fall off when moving the monopod around, but honestly, I don't think that's a really big issue. Next, in terms of specs, the maximum payload is 10 kilograms, and the total weight is about 5.4 kilograms, which is noticeably heavier than a typical light stand, but because of the low profile round base design, this extra weight is actually necessary to ensure proper stability, especially when using heavier gear like a light with a large modifier or even a camera rig. Personally, I've tried mounting my 60-watt light fixture with a large 150cm softbox, and this monopod handled it without any problems, even at maximum height, all while taking up significantly less space than a traditional light stand. Honestly, I think this is kind of impressive, again, considering how much less space it takes compared to a traditional 3-leg light stand. However, a couple of things to consider is that, one, it does need a flat and even surface to perform at its best, but honestly, I can kind of say the same thing for a traditional 3-leg light stand. And also, it does wobble a little bit, which is not a big issue if you have a light mounted on it, but if you have a camera rig on this monopod and then you press the record button and the camera is going to start wobbling a little bit, this might be a problem. And you can kind of fix this by putting extra sandbags on the monopod, which is a bit easier to do with this monopod because it has the round base design, but it's definitely something worth considering. Regardless, finally, in terms of operation, this monopod is super quick to adjust. It uses a 3-section twist lock design, which is significantly faster than a traditional light stand, and you can adjust the height from 76 centimeters all the way up to 202 centimeters. I think the twist lock design is significantly quicker to adjust than the screw-on design with traditional light stands, and also I think 202 centimeters is more than enough for like a normal YouTube studio setup, if you will. For example, with this light in here, I think I have my light stand at about 170 centimeters of height, something like that. But of course, if you're going to use smaller modifiers, you might need to bring it higher. But I think 202 centimeters is more than enough for majority of cases, if you will. So to summarize, the iFootage RB-A400 monopod is awesome. It has superb build quality and elegant low-profile design. It's versatile and it's super quick to deploy thanks to its 3-section twist lock mechanism. The only cons I can think of are the slippery rubber piece covering the round base, which sometimes falls off, and that if you mount heavy gear on this monopod, it might start wobble travel a little bit. But honestly, I think it's well worth the money, especially if you're tight on space and you want to keep your studio as neat and clean as possible. Considering how much less space it takes compared to a traditional 3-leg light stand, I think it is super stable, build quality is fantastic, and it goes high enough to use in pretty much any setup out there. All right. Thank you iFootage for sponsoring this video. Links to everything I've mentioned in this video are going to be down below. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.